Welcome to Rick Fry in Real Time. You guessed it, I'm Rick Fry. This is all brought to you by Oneness Ministries and Stream Grace Network. I'm so excited to get to tell you stories in the form of documentaries. The series we're currently working on is called People You Should Know. About 15 years ago, a friend of mine invited me to his house to watch a video. And I said, okay, what's it about? He says, True-Faced, I think, the Two Roads. I don't remember the guy's name. He's an actor, or used to be an actor, or used to teach acting. It's really good. Me being the snob that I am, I said, oh great, another lame Christian actor, not interested, thanks. And he said, no, you need to see this. People come into our lives every day. Some friendships last a lifetime. Other relationships are short-lived. Some have great impact on our lives, and others are just two ships that pass the night. The video I saw that night changed my life. The person in this documentary you need to know is John Lynch. I've gotten to meet very few of my heroes, but I got to meet him, I got to interview him, and he became my friend. John Lynch. I'd like to introduce him to you. A man you should know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Hi, Rick.
How are you?
Oh, this is such a privilege. You guys have driven out from Oklahoma City to be here, and we're here is Phoenix, Arizona.
Do we get like, I don't know, something from God for doing that? Do we
No, zero. Never. I don't even think he noticed that you were traveling. I mean, he was doing traveling mercies and all that stuff for you, whatever that is.
I saw the hedge around the car.
That's right. That's right. But no, there's nothing. Nothing in it for you.
Let's just launch. On your website, you call yourself a storyteller.
Yeah.
What's the difference? And you've had a long career behind a pulpit.
Yes.
At closed door church, open door church.
Same. Depends who you ask. Yeah.
And what's the difference between telling a story and preaching a sermon?
Gosh. So sometimes it is the same. Sometimes for me, I've preached many messages that are stories. That because Scripture is a lot of stories. It makes it really conducive to be a storyteller and to take care of Scriptures. I'm not an unusually good didactic teacher. I'm okay at it. I can do it. But if you'll give me a chance to teach truth by story.
Understand that there's those of us who don't know what didactic means.
Yeah. Didactic is just that. Verse by verse,
okay.
You are teaching declaratively, and I could do it, but no one's going home saying, "Oh, we got to do that again soon." Yeah. So, but story to me is so sacred to be able to have the privilege at any time, and I'm talking to the choir. This is what you do.
Yeah.
We get to communicate truth in a way that gives people voyeuristic permission to step into our story where it's safe for them to test out the truth they're hearing.
Wow.
If you're preaching at me, I'm defensive. If you're telling me you should, you ought, when will you, I'm defensive. But if you'll let yourself be the one affected by the truth of the story and let me in, let me have a chance to just watch it, I get to have that time to reflect on it, and I'm watching it through your experience. I'm not taking the hit directly. And it's, for me, it's a very, very powerful way for me to communicate, to get truth across.
That humility was the first thing I noticed about you on the Two Roads video that I mentioned in the opening. You walked out on that stage,
Yes.
out to the edge,
Yes.
and you said to the navigators, "You guys are my heroes." I'm nervous,
Yes. Yes.
but I'm going to do this. I don't remember what you said after that. I just so much appreciated the honesty and the humility. That was the first thing you
Oh,
presented.
Rick, that's so good. That blesses me a lot, and I think there's a lot of studies that say within the first 3 minutes, people have decided
Yes.
whether they're going to check in or check out. And how do you earn their trust? How do you convince them, I'm here for you? How do you convince them, I struggle with this, and I don't want to come at you as the answer guy. I want to come at you as the one who it's going to be taught through. So in the Two Roads talk, I love that it's me who's going through this journey, and you're watching me fail and make mistakes and get it right, and I love that. I cherish that because we've done a lot of. At Open Door, I had the privilege of doing a lot of theater downtown in our some of our best theaters. We had the privilege to be there, and our best plays are when characters of weakness told the story. When they had the privilege of giving any God truth, it was always out of someone that an audience, even someone who is diametrically opposed to these truths of God, they could hear it in a character of weakness, and took us a long time to understand that, but it changed the way I preach. It's changed the way I think about communicating. Another thing I'm thinking with that, and I'm telling you everything I know in the first 4 minutes of us being together. I think there's, and I see it all the time, you see it all the time in media, people who are preaching at us, and they are appealing to the flesh. Rick, you ought to, you should. Let's do this. We be a people who do this.
Yep.
And it appeals to that place in us that is not us. It appeals to that come on, I gotta fix myself up. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be better.
Yeah.
And it never does anything. It never accomplishes anything. So the communicator, whether that's a parent, and where they moralized every single thought to the children, or a communicator or preacher, if I'm appealing to the flesh, it just does nothing. So I always say, I want to woo out your new heart. I want to, so what's the art? What is the language that gives me permission to talk to Rick's heart to where that can come out and play? That to me, that is, if we're doing that well, we're good communicators.
Yes.
So that's been my journey. I don't have it right. Stacy, when she comes home, will tell you I don't have this right and don't always do it right. But at least those truths have really guided the way I tell stories.
That's an important acknowledgement for all of us, that I don't have this right.
Yeah.
That even setting up, I'm stressing.
Yeah.
I'm going, I got to get this right. This is all going to be perfect. We're going to look like idiots. And I got to find a place to hide.
You know, the reality is, I'm writing a piece on it right now. I don't find most anyone very interesting until they're vulnerable to me.
Yes.
Until
Yes.
they show me until they bare their throat. I can hang in there for a while. We can talk sports, and I can watch you be competent. But when you are a little vulnerable about not having it all down right, I go, you're stuck with me. You're stuck with me forever.
That's right.
You are my people.
I think about my favorite poet, Carl Sandburg.
Huh.
One of the other guys that are a great storyteller, Mark Twain. And I threw in Roger Miller.
King of the road.
They were storytellers.
Yeah.
How are you different? Other than you don't write songs or you may write poetry, I don't know. But the idea is that they communicated stories through their art form.
Yeah. And I don't know that I'm much different. I hope it's such a high honor to be put with Roger Miller. Seriously, he just did it through songs
Yeah.
for 3.5-minute pieces.
Yeah.
I'm not a poet. I don't highly stylize anything. I don't want it stylized. I don't want it together. Even that Two Roads talk that you described at the Navigators, really that was the first time I'd given that talk.
Was it?
And I was terrified. I'd given a part of it once before at another church, but I think that sometimes the most spontaneous, the first time where you're trying hard to hit your marks and figure out where should I be, the audience is so with you when that's happening. The audience is going, you don't know where you're going, do you? Okay, come on, man, we're pulling for you. And I honestly think every time that I've given that message, I've given it hundreds of times, I don't think it's ever been as good as the first time that I was able to do it. So I love not being highly produced, and that people would see this guy's for real. He's even stumbling in his story, but he's going to get there in a really satisfying way. Did you ever see the movie Shakespeare in Love?
No,
Do you remember?
No, I didn't see it.
It's the story of the first time Romeo and Juliet is played in a theater. And the way they tell it, it starts out horribly. And it's just not going anywhere. But at some point, the storytellers, along with an audience, they find each other and they pull for each other. And when that happens to me, I'm in puppy heaven, wherever that is.
Yes.
I'm at the outskirts of puppy heaven and suddenly the play came alive, you know. So that's my joy. Sometimes that's the difficulty for me being behind a camera or in a studio, is I can't get that response.
Yes, yes. Well, there's a whole series of questions on puppy heaven, but I guess I'll move on.
I'm one of the authorities on puppy heaven. Yeah.
What, in your opinion, makes a good story?
I think a good story can be told out of almost anything. Because
I would agree.
because it's the vantage point of the storyteller that makes it fascinating or interesting. I can walk into a room and pick up a magazine and sit down with a cup of water, and that can be told so badly, or it can be gripping reality, depending on the vantage point and what I can pull out and select that's important. So it's all point of view. All of us, we say, no, I'm just telling a story. No, you're teaching. You can't help it because you are deciding what in that story you're going to give importance to. So it's true, everything's honest about it, but you're ignoring the cup of water and you're really paying attention to how you sit down. 4 minutes on why you're struggling sitting down. Well, now you've got an entirely different story than someone else would tell from the exact piece, and you can turn it into whatever journey you're on. So it's endless if we can allow ourselves to not just say, well, that's a chair, I sat down, but to be able to find myself with God, with my own issues, with the things that I bring to, like right now, we're talking, and I've got a bad hip, and this leg right here is howling while we're talking. So I got to readjust. I could tell a story right now on that. And I think all storytellers have that in common. The ability to give, be aware of vantage point. And you're teaching, like right now while we're talking, you've already made decisions of whether you'll trust me or not. And some of it is by, hopefully, you're not getting a sense that I have it all together. You're not getting a sense that I have something that I've got to get to you, that the answer man. Well, that's a way of seeing. And so we're just teaching it. The fact that you have valued it. I have heard you since you've shown up, use the word kindness, words that have to do with how the heart is engaged.
Right.
And I've heard you say it 15 times. And so hopefully, we'll be teaching a way of seeing just in our times together.
Have you always considered yourself a storyteller, or is this, I want to use the right word, or have you grown into this passion?
Yeah.
Because it has to be a passion.
It wasn't directed, but early on, it was what I did. I remember I was with my mom, very, very young, and this woman's talking to my mom about me, and she said, "Your son, he acts things out in the backyard. I watched him. He's very good." And but it was like, is he okay? Yeah. there really is, like, can he come home out of that and talk about real things? And
Awesome.
it shocked me at that moment that, wait, that's what I love to do when I'm left alone. So in my wandering years, this would have been from when my girlfriend broke up with me in 73 up till 79, I did a lot of wandering of Volkswagen. And I would wait tables in beach towns and then move to another town and do the same. But when I would travel, especially if I was traveling at night to different places with my 3-cylinder working 60 Volkswagen with a rag top, man, it was cool. But
Awesome. That's an awesome vehicle.
but I would do all night radio talk shows. So I was Bob Abernathy, and I had guests, and I would create different voices. And I'm coming in from Chi-Town. I got a crate full of cylinder bearings, and I just wanted to know, Bob, what about the Trilateral Commission? Is that still a thing? Because I think the Russians. And I would go for hours, and Bob would talk to the guests. Sometimes he'd have to hang up on guests, and I would do different accents, and I loved it. I could live in that. Right now, I want to go do a show with Bob Abernathy. But later on, when I came to faith in Jesus, I went, wait, this is what I can do. This is how I can tell these truths in ways that are hugely meaningful to me. How will I best teach them? And I immediately, the moment I realized, oh, Jesus, he's God and everything, and this is true. This is not a fairy tale. I went, I have to tell people. And so story for me has been that way. Any vehicle I can do that allows me to act something out, and acting out has a bad name. It sounds like you're being fake, but you're not. You're just being in the moment, trying to give to someone what happened to you back here, and trying to make sure it feels like that first time when you're telling it. That right there is what we get to do.
Yes.
Is We're taking something, God did something back here, or you experienced or saw something, but now I want to get it to you, not in past tense, but I want to get it to you in real time.
My first career was a painter. I started out as a bird illustrator.
Boy, I got to see one of them this morning that you gave me, an Arizona Roadrunner. Ooh, doggies.
Yeah, thank you. But the thing that I thought made my work successful was that when somebody would come into my show area, my booth, whatever the setting was, and they became emotionally involved in that piece. That made it fresh.
Absolutely.
That made it what you just described, from what I saw, what I was impacted by, put it on a surface, and they got involved in it.
That's right. What you were doing in your privacy of your sketch room, and the thoughts that you're thinking, suddenly this person's engaged with it over here.
Right. And that's what stories do. That's what good stories do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They put us in the moment. If I can do it in front of an audience, there is a permission that you get in no other way, because there's no net, and everybody knows it.
No net.
And that is a speaker has a similar thing. But when you're telling a story without script, without notes in front of you, an audience joins in just because. You got no notes, buddy. You could go down in a heap here. We're pulling for you. Yeah.
We hope you don't, but
Yeah.
it'll be fun to watch if you do.
That's right. I paid money that you wouldn't.